So yesterday, I saw Captain America Brave New World. Now, to be truthful with you, I kept my expectations very tame, because this was a new Captain America movie, but also there were some things being discussed behind the scenes that were a few red flags to me. But I can tell you that I was absolutely pleasantly surprised by this movie. It is really good. Is it a Marvel movie with some problems? Sure. Is it a bad Captain America movie? Absolutely not. Is it worse than Secret Invasion? Far from it. Secret Invasion makes Brave New World look Oscar-worthy. So here's going to be my spoiler-free review of Captain America Brave New World.
The truth.
So, let's start off with the positives. Anthony Mackie nails the role of Captain America. He is Captain America in this. He's not Steve Rogers, but he is Captain America, and I think that's something that is really, really good about this movie. Next thing is the dynamic between him and Joaquin Torres, who is the Falcon now, as he took up that mantle after Falcon Winter Soldier, after Sam Wilson became Captain America. Well, the dynamic between them both is actually really, really good. You can see that they really are a tightly packed group, and they really do bounce off well from each other. That being said, Harrison Ford absolutely steals the show as Thaddeus Ross. So, originally William Hurt was going to be in this movie, but unfortunately he passed away a few years ago, so Harrison Ford was recast, and he just slips into this role so effortlessly. Another strength that I will give this movie is the fight choreograph scenes are actually pretty damn good. There's a few that are a bit iffy, but most of the time it is a really, really engaging choreography. I think the color grading of this movie is very tame, but in a good way. It doesn't feel like it's trying to do too much with setting different tones. It is very gentle to the movie, and it just feels so unique in that aspect. And another thing is, for a film that is rated 12A, it's quite dark for what it is. Like, there's a lot of scenes where actually you're kind of surprised they managed to get away with that, but I think that's what's really unique to this film as well, is that there's a lot of scenes that have a much darker tone than previous Marvel movies. It doesn't rely on much as that Marvel humor where, you know, it's like the whole jokes of, oh, it's right behind me, isn't it? It actually, the humor is done in a way that doesn't feel like it impacts different emotional elements of the story. Now, look, I always know that Captain America has always been Marvel movies with different political undertones, and that's fine because that's what Captain America has always been. But what Brave New World does better than Falcon Winter Soldier is the political undertones. You see, in Brave New World, it uses that not so much as a source where you're really trying to focus on that too much, which what I mean by that is that with Falcon Winter Soldier, a lot of the political elements were kind of like the key points, to the point where it didn't focus as much time on the villains or, you know, other core characters. This is what Brave New World does better. It uses the political points to drive certain suspenseful moments, and actually it spends a lot of time giving more care into the characters around it. Falcon Winter Soldier had a really, really bad villain, which was the Flag Smashers. So in the original comics, Flag Smashers were two villains, whereas in Falcon Winter Soldier, it was an activist group led by a group of people. And honestly, it is what became one of the most forgettable villains in Marvel history. And that's no disrespect to the actors. It just didn't feel like there was things about those characters that we should have cared about a lot. You know, such as their motivations or things like that. They were very typical motivations, and there was nothing about those characters that made me, you know, really either hate them or feel bad for them. There was nothing there. Actually, in Falcon Winter Soldier, I felt like there was more focus on John Walker, the US agent, who was Captain America for the brief time, than what there was focus on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And again, this is what Brave New World does better, is that it doesn't focus too much on the political elements. It uses those as a moment to drive suspense, but it actually puts a lot of focus onto the characters we should be caring about, which is Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres, who's the Falcon. And then obviously the introduction of one of the former Black Widow characters, Ruth Bader Seraph, played by Shira Haas. And actually, I really enjoyed the way that Isaiah Bradley is written in this one as well. He has a lot more of an emotional depth to him, but he's also a bit more of a fun character than the dark and broody character that he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, don't get me wrong, he had every reason to be like that. He has got one of the most tragic stories in the Marvel movies. Like, it is tragic. But also, he also became kind of like the character that you felt bad for, but you didn't really felt like he had much of a drive to put that story forward. Whereas in this one, he has a purpose of being there, and it's a really, really unique purpose. Like, he has more of a purpose in this movie than what he did in the television show. So yeah, Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson is great. He is Captain America in this movie. Danny Ramirez, who was Joaquin Torres or Falcon, is great in this movie. Like, the cast is largely great. But now this goes into my problems. I would say my biggest problem with this is a lot of the villains in this movie are really underutilized. Are they as bad as some of the single films where villains there for one moment and then gone? No, but they could have done a lot better. I think Giancarlo Esposito deserved longer time as Seth Volker or Sidewinder. He actually has quite an intense element to him where he actually felt more threatening than Tim Blake Nelson's character, the leader, who is Samuel Stearns that returns from the Incredible Hulk. Like, he has a lot more of a threatening presence than what Tim Blake Nelson's character does. And Tim Blake Nelson's character, so he's kind of like, he's very clever, but also, like, you can kind of see where you can beat him in certain elements. At the same time, he is one of the more calculated villains that we've seen where it's only a singular appearance or something like that. Like, there's actually something that is really clever about him, and I did come to appreciate that. Like, his motivation is a lot better than what we've had for previous ones, where, you know, the Marvels, you had the character of Dar-Ben by Zoe Ashton, where she really was not that much of an interesting villain. Now, don't get me wrong, her motivations were understandable, but they weren't anything that really stood out. This is totally different to what Samuel Stearns has, where you actually can really understand him. He's someone that's been really betrayed by Thaddeus Ross, and you kind of get why he's so mad about it. But he is still an underwhelming villain. A lot of, you know, the two villains that they have, which is Sidewinder and the leader, they are really underutilized, and I feel like had they had more time to really be established as threats, this movie would have been a little bit more stronger. Another thing is, yes, I will say there's sometimes where the script feels a little bit flat, but that also ties into the fact that there's certain moments where there's a little bit of directions done where it either makes certain impactful moments feel a bit too quickly done, or there's bits where it feels really dragged out. But this movie is still decently well paced. But those are the things that I also would like to point out, is that Brave New World is a relatively fast paced movie, but the moments where they should either be emotional are done really quickly, or like there's moments where the movie builds up suspense where it does it really, really slowly and there's not much of an impact to it. Another thing is, while the CGI in this film is good, especially on Red Hulk, the Red Hulk CGI is phenomenal. There are a lot of moments where you can tell that CGI was used. While I said that yes, the color grading was really good in this movie, there are moments where the color grading is done where the set just feels very fake. And that kind of does kind of take your eyes away from different moments of the film. But what I can really say is Captain America Brave New World has as many negatives as many as it has positives as well. It's really 50-50 in that aspect, but I do not believe that this is a movie that is worse than Secret Invasion. Like, this is probably one of the stronger Marvel movies done. And it's honestly what I could only describe as, it's a fun, casual Marvel movie. Like, you don't need to go in and know too much about previous films to go in and have a really good time with this. It's just fun. I think the action is really good. And that's really what it is. It's nothing that you feel like you have to watch to understand certain elements of Marvel. You can just go in and you have a good time. And that's what I really like about this. I think Gius Owner has really, really stepped up his game as directing since the Cloverfield Paradox, which I honestly say I don't think is a bad movie at all. It's got its problems, but when you take for it what it is, it's actually a decent movie. But this one, he really steps up his game, and I really, really appreciate that. So I'm going to give Captain America Brave New World a B+, and give it a 7.5 out of 10. I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. I think Anthony Mackie just does an incredible job stepping into the role of Captain America, and I'm really, really excited to see where he goes with this character. And I think that he is Captain America. He is, as Harrison Ford's character says in the trailer, you are Captain America, but you're not Steve Rogers. And I think that perfectly encapsulates who Sam Wilson is. He's not Steve Rogers, he is Captain America, and he really makes it his own. So thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed my spoiler-free review. I will do a spoiler one soon, but I think I wanted to just get my thoughts out there from someone who watched the film yesterday, and it's just a pleasantly surprising movie. That being said, please take care of yourselves, love yourselves, and have a great rest of your day, or night, or evening. Bye.